Hello, this is Dale, and this is Mike, and this is Bubbiness as usual. Hello, Mike.
Hmm. Yeah, is that a new brand of bubble gum?
No, instead of business as usual, today being Thursday, it's the day when the county commissioners get most of their work done, the real work done. And I just came out of a meeting, their 2 o'clock meeting, earlier this afternoon, and they had Dane Barron and some fellow, he's from the BLM, and some fellow from the Forest Service. Just an interesting note, when you come to an official meeting with the Board of County Commissioners and you're representing BLM and you're representing the Forest Service, another guy, and you've never met the commissioners before, do you think that you'd bring a business card with you?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Well, it turns out that when I went up just before the meeting and asked both of these gentlemen for their business card, they didn't know who I was. They were like, well, I think maybe I left the office without my business card. And the other guys, yeah, me too. Whatever. Okay, they just don't want to be contacted by the
Are
public.
are these the people that are going to be doing the presentation slash hearing of airing of grievances here
I'm not sure
this
there's going
evening?
to be any slashing involved, but yes, they're the guys that are involved with that.
Okay.
The bubbiness as usual that I saw is here the county commissioners, the three of them, finally Cheryl Walker joins the meeting after like half an hour. Oh, sorry. Okay, whatever. And Simon Hare purposely invited his friend and benefactor from Rough and Ready to come to this meeting. Now, Rough and Ready is timber guys in the area, but they're rather
Right.
small. They were talking about small businesses. Small businesses. I don't think of Rough and Ready as a small business, but apparently somebody does. And I would think in this area, the small businesses, just my amateur opinion, would be like a family operation or two guys in a truck kind of thing. Well, none of them were invited to this meeting. But the fellow from Rough and Ready, this would be Link Felipe, he was actually invited to come and sit at the table with the fellows that were giving him the briefing and speak as much as you like. Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I don't. I have no issue with that at all.
okay. None of the other small business guys in the area were invited, but
Okay, what are
whatever.
you going to do? Invite every small business guy in the area?
Simon knows all of them.
Yeah. Okay. So, perhaps he should have put a call out to them.
There you go. That's all.
Rough and Ready. They probably are. I mean, in the definition of small business, if they weren't that a few years ago, they certainly are that
They are
now.
now because of automation, if nothing else. Well, see, maybe I was extra
Well,
sensitive to it because this happened earlier today. They had a meeting about the new fire standards. Okay. And so the fellows that are directly impacted by that used to be called inland. Regardless of what you think about them, they have a service to offer, and now they're called county, which seems a little strange name, but okay, because it makes them sound like they're the county's fire service, but whatever. And the commissioners had people in the audience, and they chose a guy from the audience that had something to say. Come on up here and talk to us about this. And two guys were there from county, and they were going to ask them to come up and join them.
who were the other people that came up?
One of the fellows.
Because we're talking about two different meetings here, right? One's the morning.
Yeah, we
and
are
one's the,
talking about two different meetings. Yeah.
yeah.
We're going to show you the videotape, and then you can see for yourself what they said. We just don't have the videotape available right now because there's like 4 meetings today, and I'm running my wheels off trying to keep up with all these things. Let me start with what happened at today's meeting, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay. Now, I go to the meeting. It doesn't mean that Mike knows everything. He knows everything about other subjects.
Here, let me just clear things up. I don't know anything about anything that happened today. I'm here. I am Dale's sounding board, and I will pontificate with my opinions.
Ooh, okay. Sounds like you're going to build some kind of bridge over a water or something. Okay. No, that's pontoon, isn't it?
Yes, right.
Okay. All right. So I will endeavor to tell you what happened at today's meeting. So first up at today's administration meeting in the little back room is legal counsel. And as we had mentioned to you, I think it was yesterday, he wanted to let the commissioners know that they've worked out a deal with the cable TV guys, and they don't have to obey any kind of rules. They don't have to do anything for the community. No one's going to be asking them what they're up to. And Simon Harris still groused about it a little bit. Well, I'm not really sure I like this, how come they would be asking us what we're doing for the public? Why should, I'm paraphrasing, but why should we do anything for the public after all? They're just paying for the service. Why are we required to even worry about this? So that was swept away very quickly. Then the county commissioners talked about an intergovernmental agreement and also some kind of deal that they were going to sign with the Oregon Health Authority. And the Oregon Health Authority is then involved with seeing that we get mental health services. They're sorely needed in several places, where, with options of Southern Oregon. And we've talked about this too. We talked about what happened to all those employees that used to be working with the county government, and then there's a county guy that got involved when the local government workers said, hey, we don't like you privatizing this, whether they like it or not. The commissioners decided to do so. And then there was a fellow working for the county government that said, well, the reason we're doing this is because you've decided to go out on strike and we're going to stop you. It's not good because that's against federal law to threaten them with that kind of thing. And the county got in a bunch of trouble and it lost hundreds of thousands of dollars because of that. Okay. Rob Brandis came in from Public Works, and he had some things to say about some agreements that they're doing, and probably wouldn't be that interested in it. But the forestry guy did not come in, but Human Resources did. And J.J. Schofield pointed out from Human Resources that they're making progress with hiring 3 more people, and there may be as many as 7 more people that they're going to hire. So it's a hiring extravaganza for the people of Josephine County. Yep. Just can't hire enough people.
Yeah, and if you just figured these people at $30,000 a year times 7, that's a couple $100,000.
Yep, and then there's PERS
in the budget. Yeah, and benefits and whatever, so.
You don't even need to ask because it's always in the budget. No matter what they ask, it's going to be in the budget, Mike. It's a magical budget.
Well, I'd just be interested in knowing what was the number of employees that they had last year and what is it this year at this time? And then 2 years ago. I mean, what's going on here? How much have they I mean, you see where you're talking about, 7 or 8 people, you can be talking about a couple $100,000, maybe $300,000. So it comes on slow, but it adds up, and pretty soon you've got this thing hanging out there that easily could have been put over at the sheriff's department and add a couple of guys on there. But no, we needed these guys that we have never had before. I mean, were we replacing people? I'd just like to know a little bit more about it. That's all.
It would be nice to know more. Now, such things are available, but you have to put in a request for information to your county because they're kind of reluctant to actually share that information. And when they do find the document, it could be sitting right in front of them, but they're going to have to charge you a research fee.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to pay for the document.
Well, what's the skinny on? I mean, doesn't this stuff show up when they publish the budget? Isn't that part of those numbers? Doesn't it tell how many employees that they have?
Well, it would be nice to know that, but actually, many times I found being in the meetings with them that something will come up. Oh, by the way, we forgot to put this in the budget, but we've got plenty of room for it, and I think that we can stretch the budget to match that. Well, no, we've got plenty of money in the budget, so that's okay. It's all going to work out. Oh, yes, of course, it's all going to work out. And for a place that's hanging on by its fingertips, it's amazing how much they can afford.
Well, I'd just like to know when they're negotiating the budget back and forth with one another, Why don't they mention we have room for adding this many people, or we have room for $200,000 in additional uh, salary and benefits for new hires? I mean, that'd be interesting to know, because then you could sit there and go, okay, there's one that's down, two, three. Oh, we're getting close. You know,
They're never going to do that. Not with this group. That's why it's important in this next election to get two fiscal conservatives in there, because they're going to say to people, they better say to people, hey, listen, you department head, how much money extra have you put? Oh, there's no extra. We're at bare bones. No, no. I want to know what's going to happen when you want to hire one or two new people. Why, well, Mr. Jones, I don't know how to. Well, you come back when you can answer that question.
yeah, boy, it's so screwy how they
Yep.
do things. I mean, if I'm running a plumbing business, and I'm short one service guy, I know what to do. I'm going to hire one guy, and he's going to cover us. And if my business picks up, I'll hire another guy, but not until, of course, because I actually have to make money before I can hire somebody and then spend that money to pay them.
The
That's
government
how.
actually does not need to do that. You may
Yeah.
recall we've mentioned to you folks before about how when the county clerk, this is Art Harvey, is running for election. Again, this next time he'll be counting his own votes. And he had come to the county commissioner saying, hey, I found a new way that kind of a business that we can do. Oh, really? Yeah, we've got our entire overhead paid for. Our people are here anyway. We got all of the infrastructure here. We could do that, and we'll be taking, I'm paraphrasing, we'll be taking business away from that company that's across the street. Really? You're going to compete with a private company across the street when they're paying you taxes in order to be able to employ people to
Yes,
compete with
it's
them?
just well, and okay, so how different is that from Cheryl Walker saying, what have you done for me lately? Why
Yeah.
should we stand up for minors? They don't give us any revenue. I mean, what a bizarre way of thinking, that you need somebody to provide revenue to you so that you can advocate for them, because nobody hired you to do that or anything. I mean, that is what you were elected for. It doesn't matter. Listen, are you going to advocate for my rights if they're being violated in some way?
Well, if you're a big contributor to a campaign, probably yes. Look at what
Yeah.
happened with
Okay.
the guy out at with the drone project.
What if I'm a renter and I pay no property taxes in this county whatsoever?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay, so are you going to you going to
Oh, they're going
advocate
to
for
call
me?
me names, and they're going to degrade me in public, and they're going to
Yeah.
tell people not to listen to me,
and,
and
and,
they're just
and
going to
they're
be all
gonna
over.
and they're gonna say, Mr. Matthews, maybe if you made a cash contribution, my attitude would be a little bit different.
That is what she said to the miners. You can make
Yeah,
a
yeah,
contribution to the county.
yeah. So that's it.
Really?
How bizarre? How bizarre?
You
But
can't
that's
send these people to a re-education camp or threaten them with not being elected next time. You're going to have to take this kind of person, march them for 40 years out in the desert until most of them die off, and then you'll get to see the promised land. That is the only solution for people like this. I'm not
Dale
making that up.
Matthews. Dale Matthews advocates killing people.
No, I'm advocating for a biblical solution to this problem.
A biblical solution, yes.
Yes,
yes.
they should be reading
listen,
that book.
and perhaps maybe even an Old Testament biblical solution.
There you go. Well, I think a plague of locusts upon their house. Yes, yes, I think some of those things would work.
Right. Exactly. Frogs.
Yeah, buddy. They are not. These guys are not going to learn a lesson. Simon Harris young enough to learn a lesson, but he's proven over and over again he's not going to learn a lesson either. Look, many times I've said, just by luck of the draw, eventually, when you keep pulling that one-armed bandit, you're going to end up with three lemons. That's just what's happened this time, and we'll outlive all of this too, and we'll move on. We've seen it happen with many times. Gosh, Dave Toller, gee, and all kinds of people who used to be in the past. As Chief Financial Officer Rosemary Paget. I mean, this was some pretty legal counsel. Steve Rich. He's still reaching out and touching the Gold Hill City Council. Really? Yes. And so
Well,
they're gone.
Rosemary Patchett, she's going to be an anchor around the neck of this county until the day she dies, maybe even after.
Beyond that, well, look, that happened with Steve Rich. Long after he's gone, the things that we had to live with that guy, nobody was watching him. The key to all this is education. That's all. And whether you're educated by us
And
to say, well, these
re-education.
guys, educated by us to say these guys are full of it, okay, or educated by us to say, gee, I didn't know that. Well, all right, but either way, now you're going to get a few more of the facts. Well, let me ask you this. Now, it could be maybe I'm just totally wrong. When
Probably.
I was first in college, I leased a car. It was a nice car. It was a Mustang. It was a
Yeah,
brand new
you were
Mustang.
wrong. A lease is always a bad idea.
Okay, but that's all I could afford at the time,
Okay.
right? Because I didn't have good credit. I had no credit. I didn't have bad credit. I just didn't have any credit.
I've heard all of that in a commercial before.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know anything about that.
Yes.
I don't get a chance to watch TV. I just make it. Um,
Yes.
and so the county has come up with this brilliant plan that they were talking about today. You see, it seems that they have a bunch of pretty fancy copy machines that can be adjusted to do certain kind of copies that would be very helpful to us, but they don't like to press that button. And so, and they lease all these, okay? Well, as it turns out that one of the companies they're leasing from is screwing up all the time and constantly billing the wrong department for the wrong thing, or not billing them at all, or billing them too much. And instead of saying goodbye to them, they want to continue doing business with them. I don't know why. And the other one is Xerox. And so it was the financial officer. This would be Arthur O'Hare, not Simon Hare, Arthur O'Hare. They ran out of names. Okay, and so this guy, he comes into him and he says, well, I think what we ought to do is we ought to buy instead of leasing. But get this, the leasing is done by the various departments because they have state grants, money that's just given to them as a gift. It does come out of our other pocket. And of course, they're going to spend more money using a state grant to lease a piece of equipment than would be used to buy it. But you cannot buy it with the state grant. Oh, so you have to lease it.
I'm telling you, this is the I will bypass the rant on my pet peeve there. I don't like all these designated funds. I just think that they're really bad.
Gotcha. So look, here's the choice. You can lease it by using a state grant. The money comes from the state. It comes from us. Everything comes from us. Okay,
Yes.
they don't have a printing press yet in the basement of the Ant Basket. So you can lease it by using a state grant, or you can buy it by using Josephine County General Fund money.
Yes.
So they're thinking, well, let's buy it using general fund money, and that way it'll come out of the money that's available to the county instead of leasing it using state grant money, which the money comes out of the state.
Well, then what happens with the state money is that you just don't get it because you have already purchased this, and so you are not eligible for the grant money now? How does that work?
That's what they did not make very clear at this meeting. But my point is this: if you're getting a state grant, what that really means is we've already given money to the state as taxpayers. This is money coming back to us. And whatever you think about the strings attached, you would probably like to get as much back as you can.
Right. You've adequately jumped through the hoop in order to get the money back. So why would you not want to jump through that hoop and not get that? Maybe you don't get that money back, and now the county has that much less money. That's stupid.
But we've got them. But they say, but we've got the money. Well, we're swimming in money. You may not know this. We have the money in our capital fund, and so we can buy this. And so let's buy it. Look at all the money that'll be saved, except that, yes, it will be less money. But now all of it's coming out of the county's budget instead of money coming back from the state.
No, and see, I didn't want to do this, but this is how stupid these things are. We'll give you so much money for this, so much money for this, so much money for this. And then the county naturally, in order to take advantage of those grants, shimmies out into area they got no business being. Why don't you just take a certain amount of our money and let us keep the rest and stop trickling it back to us in dribs and drabs? and having to jump through certain hoops. You know how much more expensive government is because they have to jump through these hoops in order to get this money? Instead of just going, okay, we need this much and we're going to let you have the rest of that. Do whatever you want with it.
And I know where that trickle is going, right on top of my head.
Yeah, well,
it's unsanitary.
It's stupid. It's stupid. And unless at some point somebody fights back against that, you're not gonna be able to have as frugal of county government as you would like to have whenever you have all these grants that give it back to you, but only if you jump through this hoop.
Look,
it's dumb.
When maybe this is a brilliant plan and maybe it's a stupid plan, but you need to have people that are willing and have enough brains to question it and say, now, wait a minute, explain to me why this makes sense that we're going to be paying for it instead of getting the money back from the state to pay for it. Maybe there's a lot of reasons, but see, nobody's asking that in a meeting. We cannot depend on this current group. It doesn't mean that all of government is always bad, but this current group, certainly not Keith Heck. Cheryl Walker's always for anything that involves more government. And even Simon here could say, oh, no, wait. Explain this to me in everyday English. How is this a benefit? Nobody's doing that. Nobody's doing that. I'm sitting there and I'm like, I would like, but I can't.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to do so.
Yeah, that's just silliness, and not questioning it is even dumber.
Well, I can't. Why are you saying I'm dumb? Because I'm not
talking about you. I'm talking about them. No, it's
why would they not question this?
I mean, does this remind you of anything? How many forms of welfare do we have? We got SSI, we've got regular welfare, we've got WIC, we've got this, the other thing. You got a card for this, whatever, and you're running around chasing all these little benefits here and there, and pretty soon you can't do anything without those people and their little teeny piece of whatever that they're giving you, and you run around picking up these little breadcrumbs all over the place. And how much more bureaucracy do they have to have up in Salem to have the bureaucracy to dish all this stuff out? I mean, doesn't that require extra people to do all the accounting, to keep all these things straight, instead of just going, well, okay, I'm taking so much money and I'm going to need that for running state affairs here, and the rest of it you guys can keep down there. I mean, that just makes sense to me. Maybe I'm just a simpleton.
No, I tell you, we've got this friend that's moving into the area that we sometimes see once a month on a Saturday, and he said, I'm going to move to Josephine County. And I said to him, he just said, well, I'm here now. And I said, we really need to have you on our show or come to a weekly business session. Please tell everybody the good news about why you feel that living in Josephine County, it's good news, is better than Jackson County where you were before. Share this good news, but we can talk about good news. That's okay. And share with us your perspective about why things are better here than they are in Jackson County. But I said, what you need to do, if you can, is come to a weekly business session periodically. He can show up about once a month and just share a little common sense. We sorely need that.
Yeah, and Stuart's a good guy too. He has plenty to say. So he would.
Well, see, you have that too. You're our audience for this show, and we have a pretty steady audience for this every single night of the year, and you have common sense too. Now, you can share that with us. You can write a letter to the editor. You could come to a weekly business session. You could just like our show on when we put it on social media. Just press one button, or even when you watch this, you could press the like button, and just give a little indication to people that you have some interest in this subject and you like or don't like what you're hearing. It's common sense stuff. We need more common sense. I think you would probably agree with that.
Nah.
Okay, the big controversy of the day. of this whole day has been, except for the meeting with the, about the mineral withdrawal. Look, as I say about this mineral withdrawal, this is a done deal.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm going to speak about that just quickly before the big story of today. That's a done deal. They're going to do it. And if everybody in the Anbasker had stood up and said, "Oh, well, I think this is the world's worst deal," it won't matter, because this is not the only place where they're having the meetings. And then the next meetings are going to be further up north, and the further north they go, the more everybody's going to say, "Well, I love this deal." And if they go to other places, Washington, D.C., New York City or something, hey, that's the world's best deal. And so it doesn't matter what we say. This is just a matter of the rules.
Yeah, they're here to tell us what they're going to do to us.
That's right. But they're required to listen to public input. And so what they might as well do is just put in little imperceptible headphones or earbuds, and they could listen to rap music or something, and just kind of or Yanni or something like that. That's favorite up north, whoever that is these days. Yes. And why even bother really listening? Because we're not going to have any. You get to say your thing, and we'll put as soon as I get them processed, we'll put your comments up for everybody here to see. And fortunately, we've got a bigger audience than, well, I don't know if it's fortunate, but a bigger audience for these videos than anybody in the whole state. In fact, all of the videos combined, except for the nightly news, we've got a bigger, so you will get through to local people saying what you think. But honestly, if 100% of the population here in Josephine County felt a certain way, that's not going to have any effect on the federal government and their plans for us.
Yeah, right. No, that's true. They're going to do what they want to do to us. And so did you happen to find out, did you talk to anybody about whether or not the broadcast is going to be happening?
Was it broadcast this evening? I don't know. I still don't know. We won't find out till later, I suppose. But we'll be there. We are there with our cameras. I mean, we'll be there to show you. We'll be there to show you the videos of everything.
Dale doesn't want to tell you that we're doing this show before the show. Yeah. That bothers
All right, then. Good night, everybody.
I don't understand why that bothers you. I mean,
it doesn't bother me. I don't want to be rude to our audience. That's all. Okay, so
rude.
The big news today was notice how I subtly changed the subject. The big news today was dealing with the folks that want to establish new fire standards. Okay, there's two completely opposite points of view. One of the points of view I think is best epitomized by Cheryl Walker. She says, well, everybody...
I don't want that one. Just for the record, can I have the other one, please? Because I already know that that's the good one, and Cheryl Walker's one is the bad one. That's you don't have to go any further than that. Thank you very much. Good night, people.
When I was a kid,
tell us the details.
Occasionally, when I was a kid, we'd flip a coin. Who hasn't done that, to decide which to do? But 50-50. And so I found that I just sort of have a natural tendency to go toward tails, and you can read any kind of Freudian thing into that you like. But I'd always pick tails. And so once I realized that I'd always pick tails, whatever I decided to attach tails to, I was automatically making my decision anyway, even if I didn't know what I felt. So I never actually had to flip a coin from that point on. Nice realization for a 12-year-old, huh? I just realized I never have to flip a coin the rest of my life, because whatever I happen to attach tails to, somewhere in my mind is telling me that's what I really want to do.
Oh, that's interesting.
So, well, I don't know if it's interesting, but it fits in with what you were saying about all you need to know is that Cheryl backs one of the plans, and that's it. They don't need to flip a coin now.
Well, listen. I mean, to anybody who doesn't really understand, Cheryl Walker is like a left-wing Democrat. She's the Nancy Pelosi, the Dianne Feinstein, the Barbara Boxer of Josephine County. And so, I know generally that whatever she's going for is not going to be the great thing. But please tell me the difference between these two things and confirm or make me look like an idiot. I'm interested.
You don't need any help from me. Okay, so here's what I understand based on what was presented. there's a group of fire protection services that include everyone but county fire services that used to be called inland, and they're
Mm.
over in where Sandy Casanelli lives, Merlin.
Merlin.
Okay, all right. I didn't give away your address. Just relax. Okay, so um, they're in Merlin, and they want to present a lower cost service because, am I right, Mike? I don't need this kind of service, but if you're going to get a subscription, it sounds like you're getting a magazine, but if you're going to get a subscription from a fire protection service, that you're required to do so by your insurance company?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. All right. So you have to pick one, or your
Yeah.
insurance company is not going to insure you.
Yeah,
And
and your insurance company may even have some input on the company that you go with.
they have been persuaded to take a stand in a number of issues. A number of insurance companies do. Now, I
Mhm.
have auto insurance. Doesn't everybody that drives a car? You're supposed to. And I picked the cheapest one, okay, because I'm gambling with the amount of money that I have, not on scratch and sniff or whatever they call those, but I'm gambling on not having an accident, but I can't drive without the insurance. So I'm going to get the lowest cost with the highest deductible. Okay. Um, so a number of people fit into that category. I definitely do. Okay. And I want to be
Mhm.
able to drive. Uh, so these guys offer that service. Now you're going to get probably, generally speaking, you're going to get not so many bells and whistles. So when the fire truck comes, there's just one little ding, 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 instead of ding, 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 not so many bells and whistles. That's the best
Yeah.
I can do with that one.
Yeah.
And so there are other fire services. It looks like they're sort of condensing down into just one. That's
Mm.
really what it does look like. And
Like
so,
so what you're saying is rural metro.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And Cheryl Walker seems to me, just from observing what she was saying, she's got no problems with that. Well, that's not true, but then she kind of, I think she feels that that's a pretty good deal. Well, they're the higher priced one, and they feel that they're doing a better job. Okay, and they've pretty much convinced the group of fire chiefs that they're the way to go. So
Mhm.
what happened at the last meeting that the fire chiefs had with the commissioners, and they didn't want to make a decision until Simon was there, and then take it to the weekly business session to confirm the thing. No, was ratify the decision they already made. But I talked with the guy out on the street, and I said, so everybody's mentioning this company without saying their name. You're talking about County Fire, aren't you? Well, yeah. And I said, do you feel that they're a bad actor and all this? Well, no, but there are some things that they're doing. And he let it drift off. And I said, okay, are they just not doing a good job? Well, sometimes when you compare, and then he just sort of let it drift off. Nobody really wants to say what they're really thinking. I'd like to
Mhm.
see more of that, but that's just me. I think it's common sense. So,
I I would certainly like to know, because this is something that's been going on for some time,
it
where
has.
there's been this preference for rural metro, and I want to know why. I mean, if their rating somehow is based on better performance than any of the others, let's talk about that. But they don't talk about that. There's no great apples to apples comparison of these
Well,
companies. It
let
doesn't
me
seem.
explain what's then happening, because as Wally Hicks said the last time that they met on this without Simon there, he says, well, there may be a perception among one company, one company again, that we're trying to drive them out of business. Now, this is the county legal counsel. He may be worried. And I saw him in the hallway today, and I asked him. I said, "Wally, are you worried? That perhaps the county can be sued or something by county. The county can be sued by county. It sounds like a deal with Steve Rich." And he says that has an origin, but you'll have to look at one of our past shows. I can't explain everything all the time. You probably already know it. And so he said, well, there's a potential that they might feel that. I said, you think? Yeah, then maybe they do. And we intend to have them on our show at some point to
Well, you know
explain
what?
their point of
Listen,
view.
I'd love to hear. I mean, could you glean any rationale for?
Yes, I can tell you
Good.
what I think is happening.
Okay.
What I think is happening is this, is the Association of Fire Chiefs, or whatever they're calling themselves this week. They've come up with some ideas of how you can certify, how you can classify the various levels of service, and then what's minimally acceptable to the county, really. And the what's minimally acceptable.
Wait a minute. I have a little bit of a problem.
Yes, I do too. Go ahead.
Because the county is not the one receiving the service.
Yep.
I am.
Yes.
Okay, so it's none of your damn business.
I agree with you using that word. It's none of their damn business. So here's the thing I said to Simon Hare out in the hallway. I said, now look, let's suppose the county emergency services director. She says, well, now this is very much like regulating the kind of coffee that would come out of Dutch Brothers. So I was using Dutch Brothers as an example. Okay. And I said, using that rationale, we'll show you the tape where she's saying this. Using that rationale, here's my question. The county should be involved, the county government should be involved in making sure that buildings within the county are not going to fall down. Okay. Yes. That is their responsibility. They need to be sure that the electrical systems inside the building are not going to short out, cause a fire, and kill everybody. Okay, including county commissioners, regardless of what you may think about them. Okay, that's definitely something that's got to be done. And if they're within the city, they're going to look at the planters and how many plants are in them or some other goofy thing that they think is important. I said, so beyond that, though, I mean, if Dutch Brothers suddenly start selling stinky coffee, that's none of your damn business. That's what I said. Now, that's not a nice thing to say, but that's what I said. It's none of your business.
No.
The customers will decide. They'll vote with their feet. They'll go with a human being or some other kind of place. I said, so what makes you think that it's your business if County Fire wants to offer a lower price service? Why is it your business, aside from their building and their electrical in that building, why are you getting involved in the quality of service that they have? Well, maybe their response time isn't as quick. Well, then people decide not to. Or they'll make that cost-benefit analysis. I decide I want to spend less money because I don't think I'm going to have a fire in the first place, but I'm required to do so. It's none of your business.
Yeah, it isn't there. But listen, you know what? If there was a fire district in the county, that'd be different. But there is none. And you know what that means? That means the county is not involved in the fire business. It's none of their business.
Right.
Yeah. If the fire, if my service doesn't do a good job and it jumps to the next guy's property, still has nothing to do with the county.
But we want to keep you safe, you see, Mike. We've got to keep you safe.
Listen, why don't you just do the things you have money for? Remember you're hanging by your fingernails? Why don't you just do that and stop messing around where your nose doesn't belong?
Now that's go ahead.
They don't have any business doing this.
I don't think they do. But they've been convinced, and Cheryl's helping push this, that there must be certain minimal standards. That sounds reasonable. Let's have certain minimal standards. But
I've got an idea.
Yeah.
How about a bunch of the people in the county get together and sue the county? And say, hey, why don't you stop messing around? You're dabbling in the free market here. You're picking winners and losers. Get out.
They're picking winners and losers. So
it's none of your business.
As proof of this, the Fire Chiefs Association guy was there. And, of course, they asked him to come and sit up at the table. We talked about this before. Who's sitting at the table? You come on up. He wasn't even listed as a speaker, but they asked him to come sit at the table. They did not ask the two guys, either one of the two guys from Inland, to come and sit at the table. There were like 8 people in the room from various fire services. They didn't ask them. They asked this guy. Okay. Now it's obvious that he's got a point of view about this. It's obvious. And that is reflected in the following. So get this. Sorry, it's going to take a minute to explain. So he says, well, one reason that this proposal that we're making to you is not quite complete for your next weekly business session is we want to include something in there about when fire protection services include emergency medical technicians, and what should the standards for that be?
None of their business.
I agree with you. And so some of these places, for example, I know at Wolf Creek, because I was a volunteer there for a while, they have got some people who've got EMT training, emergency medical technician, but
Mm.
they don't run an ambulance out of there. Now, ambulances, like fire trucks, are highly regulated by the county? No. By the state? Yes. And by the federal government? Yes. Okay. But it's another county's business about what kind of CO2 sprayer you have.
Yeah,
That's
listen,
already part of the state
and
rules.
guess who's going to be paying the bill to AMR after they yanked me and took me to the hospital? Guess who's getting that bill? It's not you guys.
That's right.
It's me. I'm paying it.
So first
Bug
of all,
off.
should there be county regulations now about your EMTs, and should you have them and how many? And here's the key word. It's the word minimum. I just used that a minute ago. This guy comes in and he says, well, I think that we have a questionnaire that we put out to everybody, and I can see the guy from county, from what used to be inland, going like this, that will establish certain minimums. Certain minimums. And I'm thinking, now, wait a second. Well, he says, no, wait. He thought about it for a second. He says, well, no, we're just asking them what they have and what minimum do they have. Well, doesn't it sound like what they're going to do is they're going to rate them, and if you fall below the minimum, then you're not going to be allowed to do business anymore, or they're going to put out some kind of scorecard for a better educated consumer about why you should always buy from this, maybe a combination of AMR and
Sure.
and the one that's left, the big one, and they're all going to be one big company that freezes these guys. That's what it sort of sounded like.
Yeah.
And so whether you think inland county is a good company or a bad company, that's not really the point. Is it really up to the county to establish minimums? Well, maybe you ought to change that word. Well, maybe we ought to. This is the deck being stacked against these guys. Why are you saying that we're going to have minimum standards to have an emergency medical technician on your crew?
Yeah. Why do they have to inject themselves into this? Well, isn't it just cheaper for them not to inject themselves into this? Number one, they're not putting themselves out there where somebody's going to attack them at some point and say, hey, back off. I'd like to be that person. Really, I would.
Isn't it ironic? Here's Cheryl Walker, and you all may recall that she got involved with another company that was in Merlin, and that was the outfit that was going to be doing flying services with helicopters to take people to the hospital. And she felt that they were being unfairly criticized for having what some people described, and it was very clear what they thought in Illinois Valley. Some people described as lesser services. So she was pressing real hard. No, they ought to be allowed. Well, they're no longer here. Okay. Yeah. Now what she's doing is she's pressing against another Merlin company, saying, well, they ought to rise to certain minimal standards. You know what? As long as I'm satisfied with, and I don't live there, but as long as I'm satisfied with their price, number one, their price, number two, their price, number three, and then their service, number four, as long as I'm satisfied, what business is it of yours? So if they decide to send out 2 boys and a dog fire service, okay, it's $5 a week, and that's what I want.
Yeah.
So get my insurance.
Listen, this is, I don't understand what function do you think that you're fulfilling by injecting yourself into this?
Rewarding your friends and punishing your enemies.
Okay, yeah, that's one aspect of it, but it's being done under the guise of something else, though.
Safety.
Like they're looking out for me somehow. Really? Why
when
don't
have you seen them do that before?
Yeah. Why don't you just forget about that function? And listen,
they do.
We're doing pretty well, by the way, looking out for ourselves out here in the county. That's kind of what we do. So why don't you just let us figure out, who we're going to go with or whatever. And, you guys can just find something else to do.
That's very nice that you just find something else. I saw you hesitate on that F. Yes. Okay. Well, So to sum up this story, this is very interesting. If only, many, many times in these meetings, you think, oh, if we could just play that back a year ago, because they're so duplicitous. Okay. Now, not because government's always duplicitous, but this is a good case of that. Do you remember what the finance director, and what the commissioner said would happen to this county if we didn't pass the last property tax levy? What would happen to all the departments?
Oh, I don't know. They'd probably just all not be able to function anymore. I don't know.
They did say that. They did. They said the whole system will fall apart if we don't get this levy passed. Not just public safety, not only the sheriff's department, but everything.
Listen, if they campaigned on that, there's a case to be made that that's what the people wanted.
Well, that's
so
true.
Why didn't you give us what we wanted?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Out loud.
But they said that it was all going to fall apart. And so now, just today, for the very first time, the finance director said, by the way, I can assure you that in the next fiscal year, we'll be able to maintain our current status quo. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, fantastic.
Now, wait a minute now, finance director. If you were one of the people, and he was, that warned us that if the levy didn't pass, right? At least I don't think it passed, did it? That if the levy didn't pass, that we were all going, the whole system was going to crumble. How come you just said today, now that the levy's not passed, that we can even depend on next year being status quo? Oh, that's good. Well, it's really good to hear that, Arthur O'Hare. Really? I think it confirms that they lied to us.
Okay.
Why do we put up with this?
Yeah, well, that's we don't have a choice is the problem.
We're going to have a choice coming up.